So, my name is Deirdre Devolish. I'm the manager of the Dingle Hub, and about 9 months ago now, we saw a call for a project in the creative climate action sphere. And as we were doing a lot of work with the farming community, exploring opportunities for diversification and looking at the challenges around climate change, we felt that taking a look at this problem through a creative lens could have many, many benefits. And luckily, Creative Ireland saw our point of view on it. And they said, yes, you know, they will fund this project to happen. So we're absolutely delighted to be bringing it to the community. We're delighted to have our artist, Lisa Fingleton, involved, who you hear for a little bit later. And it's another way forward. It's another opportunity for you as the farming community to explore the options that are out there, explore the barriers to undertaking those options, and really try to dig in a bit further and see, you know, if the solutions were easy, everyone would be doing them. But there are challenges and there are difficulties, and this year-long project is about really understanding those, and that's where we think that our creative community can really help to shine a different light and look at things through a different lens. So with that, we were very fortunate to partner on this project with the Green Arts Initiative of Ireland, and have Katrina Fallon as project manager on this project, and Claire Watson as well from the Marine and Renewable Energy Institute, who will be looking at this from an evaluation perspective to see what are we learning along the way and how are we actually making changes. So I'm going to hand over to Katrina now and to take you through the evening.
Thanks a million, Deirdre. Gurmia Magat agus Falsharov Galer. And no, I should say that this won't take too long, probably maybe half an hour, 40 minutes, unless you have an enormous number of questions. So what we'll do is I'm going to talk you through the actual project, where the funding came from and how we're hoping that farmers might work with us. Claire is then going to talk a little bit about evaluation and reflective learning. We're hoping that maybe some of the farmers from the West Kerry Dairy Farmers SEC who are involved in selecting the artist who are with us tonight, that some of them might say a few words just about their experiences to date. And then we're going to hand over to the artist herself, Lisa Fingleton, and she's going to talk a little bit about her own experience and her practice. And then there's time for questions. So if there are a lot of questions, we'll be here a little longer, and we're more than happy to do that. But we probably won't be here for too long. So I'm going to share my screen now, just have a few slides, just one moment. It's taking a second now if I get this right. Now, can everybody see that?
I can see that there, Katrina.
Everybody can see that. Okay. So just maybe to talk to you a little bit about the Creative Climate Action Fund. So this is administered by Creative Ireland. Some of you might be familiar, if you have children, you might be familiar with Creative Ireland. It was set up around the time of the centenary celebrations, or it came out of that particular project. So they do a lot of work around creativity in the community. And Tanya Bonatti, who runs it, decided to set up, in a very innovative move, to set up this Creative Climate Action Fund. So it's a very new fund, and there's a lot of interest in terms of what will come out of the projects that are being funded. There's actually a lot of interest and attention on the project that we're involved in. And the funding is there to support projects that use art and creativity to look at some of the really difficult challenges that climate change presents. And many of the projects are collaborating or working with other sectors in the same way that we're hoping to collaborate with the farming sector. So the fund was, we've been working on it even before it was actually officially announced, but I think it was announced probably last April, and we put in an application towards the end of May, and was later, I think probably around August, that we heard we were successful. So we have to credit all those wonderful logos have to be displayed to show who's there's money coming from the Department of the Environment and so on. So and when we initially came together, it's myself and Claire and Deirdre, to think of an area or a topic that would be a good one to address, we really quite quickly thought of the farming community on the peninsula. The Dingle Hub had already been working with farmers on a number of projects which supported energy efficiency and things like anaerobic digestion, the Plutus project as well, and the Farm Ambassador pilot project. And actually, as it turns out, we all come from kind of rural backgrounds. Claire is from a small farm in Cork. I'm from West Wicklow. Didn't come from a farming background, but surrounded by farms. And Deirdre obviously is from West Kerry. So I suppose we were very conscious too that climate change was really becoming a big issue for farmers, and that it had the potential to really impact their way of life. And we're also very aware that not everybody understands how complicated an issue this is for farmers. Maybe some people from the wider community struggle with really understanding that. So that was something that we were very keen to address. Both myself and Deirdre were also involved with the West Kerry Dairy Farmers SEC. Dinny very kindly asked me to give him a hand a couple of years ago, and so I'm the secretary with that SEC, and really enjoying that work. And that really allowed us to get to know some of our farming neighbours better. And being part of the SEC also allowed us to get a much better understanding of the issues currently facing farmers, not just in terms of climate change, but things like cost inflation for fertilizer, the complexities around slurry spreading and management, farm fragmentation, bureaucracy and paperwork, all of that. These are issues that our farming neighbours were talking to us about, and we were really beginning to grasp how challenging a lot of that was. So when the idea of a creative climate action project came up, we really felt there was no sector that was more relevant than agriculture and the farming community here in the peninsula. So that's where the project originated. And we then had to recruit an artist, and that had to be somebody who could work with the farming community and who had an understanding of the challenges that they're facing. So we produced an artist brief that was a kind of description of the sort of person we were looking for and the job they would have to do. And we had a lot of submissions actually from all over the world, from America, from Africa, from throughout Europe. So it was amazing that the artist that was eventually picked was Lisa. And in selecting her, the committee were very mindful that the focus of the project is the farming community and their concerns around climate change. So really, as part of the project, we want to listen to farmers from all kinds of, I should say that the artist we selected was Lisa Fingleton, who's with us tonight. There she is in her tractor. And I suppose, yes, that was the focus, and the fact that she had that understanding and that she had experience in the area really meant a lot to us. And the fact that the four farming members of the committee were also very happy to select her as the artist. So the key focus, I suppose, is listening to farmers from all kinds of farming enterprises to get a sense of where you are in terms of climate change, whether you're looking at diversifying because of climate change, if that's appropriate to your kind of farming, the obstacles and hurdles that you might feel are blocking you from making changes. And indeed, you might feel that you don't want or intend to make any changes, but all of that is really of interest to us. And at the core of the project really is the belief that farmers have the solutions, but need supports to put those solutions into practice. And this project really hopes to highlight that. So the structure of the project is that we're going to select 10 farmers who will go on a kind of journey. This is a leaflet that's been available online, we produced a couple of weeks ago. So that the farmers will go on a kind of a journey, finding out a bit more about some of the sustainable initiatives taking place around the country. We'll be looking at things like anaerobic digestion, but also community-owned energy projects and some of the farming options open to farmers to diversify. So this is the kind of practical side of it. There will be 8 of those site visits, as we call them, as well as 3 public events at the beginning, middle and end of the project. And those public events will be forums where we can debate topics to do with climate change and farming with a wider sector of the community, particularly the farming community. And the 8 visits are provisionally scheduled to take place in probably mid-January to mid-February. We're obviously trying to avoid that period when farmers we know are very busy with calving and lambing from kind of mid-February for about 4 to 6 weeks. We'll avoid that period. But during that period, Lisa, as a selected artist, is hoping that she would spend time with farmers during that really busy period. So she'll also spend time with farmers throughout the course of the year to get a strong sense of their working lives. And obviously Lisa's creativity as an artist will come into play, and she's going to talk to us about that shortly. But it's important to say that the project will kind of evolve over time, so there may be some elements that might seem a little bit unclear or a bit fuzzy at this stage, but that is partly to allow for the farmers that are selected to participate in that particular project and in how the project unfolds. So I've just come up with some of the questions that you may have about the project, which I'm going to go through briefly here, but there are undoubtedly many others that I won't have thought of. So that's really your opportunity to ask questions later on during the session. So for example, you know, what will the participating farmers do? The chosen farmers will spend time with Lisa Fingleton as she develops a better understanding of the issues facing the sector and the plans the local farming community has for the future. The participating farmers, as I've said, and I'll be repeating myself a little bit, but they're also obviously going to undertake those 8 site visits. So that's one of the things they would be expected to do in terms of looking at renewable energy, sustainable enterprises, and MARI, where Claire is based, the Marine and Renewable Energy Institute. That's one of the places that we're hoping to visit, and Farming for Nature projects. Will farmers be reimbursed? So yes, there's a sum to, I suppose, to cover per diems for the farmers while they're away from the farm, and that sum it comes to €1,500 for those 8 visits. So we're very conscious that anything that farmers do is obviously taking them away from the work that they might otherwise be doing. And what kind of farmers are we looking for? We're really looking for farmers from across the sector: dairy, dry stock, sheep, mixed, and vegetable growers. I don't think there are any tillage farmers on the peninsula, but if they're hidden away somewhere, we'd be happy to hear from them also. And we're looking at all ages and levels of experience, and we are hoping that there'll be a bit of a mixture of male and female, not all one genders. That'd be great to get a bit of a balance there, and that'll allow us to gather the experiences of a cross section of farmers. So we would be asking the farmers to really kind of engage with Lisa, you know, allowing her to visit their farms, as well as taking part in those public events, as I mentioned earlier, and the site visits. So we're looking for farmers who are really going to commit to the project. So there is a bit of a commitment involved, but we also think that it's going to be something that has potential to be very interesting and very stimulating. It's going to be evaluated throughout the year by Claire, and also separately the Creative Climate Action Fund has a separate evaluation process that will go on, but none of that will impinge hugely. It really will involve things like questionnaires and interviews, vox pops and discussions, but Claire will tell us a little bit more about that now in a minute. And will the farmers have an input into the project? So the selected farmers who take part in the project, we really hope that they will input into how it evolves. So for example, we have pinned down where the first 4 site visits will be, but we haven't firmly tied down the other 4 because we think that would be a great opportunity for the farmers to have an input into where they think might be interesting to visit. How will they be selected? So one of the reasons you're here this evening, so we're asking farmers to complete an expression of interest form. I'm just going to give you a quick glance at that now in a minute, giving some details about their farming practice and outlining why they would like to take part. And then a panel, including representatives from the farming sector and the project steering committee, will select farmers from those submissions to ensure a cross-section of farm types, sizes, location and age groups, as I mentioned earlier, and a maximum of 10 farmers will be chosen. So in terms of any particular conditions, again, I know I'm probably repeating myself, but yes, we're looking for farmers who will commit to engaging with Lisa. That would be a condition of taking part. Ideally, we're looking for farmers who maybe are a little bit concerned about climate change, but who may not have reacted to that at all. But really, we're kind of open to, once the farmers taking part are interested in addressing climate change. Farmers would need to commit to taking part in the 8 scheduled visits, and as I said before, the public forum events. And we've mentioned the timescale of the first series of visits will be I have 8th of January, but it's really the middle of January to the middle of February, and then the 15th of June until the end of July. And they'll generally be a full day, not maybe in every case, but in many cases. And those dates, we're trying to fix those fairly tightly in advance, because we're conscious that once the farmers have actually been recruited, that we really want to tie those dates down with you so that you don't feel that those can be changed, so that you have them in your calendars. Now, Deirdre, oh yeah, it's fine. Somebody else who wanted to come in. So this is just a quick look at the form, the expression of interest form. It's quite simple: name, phone number, email address, the kind of farm, full-time, part-time, the age group, gender, and then some kind of questions around climate change. Are you concerned about climate change? Have you diversified your farming practice? If you're interested in getting involved in the project, and then, you know, why would you be interested in what in particular appeals to you about this project? And then a commitment, the whole idea about committing to the time period, and maybe other schemes that you're involved in, and where you heard about the project. So that form can actually be filled in online. So on the website, on the Dingle Peninsula 2030 website, under the agriculture section, there is a couple of pages dedicated to the Creative Climate Action Project, and you can find this form. So you just fill it in online and submit it, and I will get it from there. One other thing we might ask, we are going to hopefully ask farmers to do, is we're asking participating farmers if they might be happy speaking to the media occasionally, or to other people about their experiences, but that would be organised and supported by the project coordinating team. And that's just my email address, creativeclimateartist@dinglehub.com, if you have any more questions. So I think that's me. I'm going to stop sharing now. So it's over to Claire now, and Claire is going to talk, as I say, a little bit about the evaluation and reflective learning.
Thanks, Katrina. As Katrina said, I'm a researcher with MARI. MARI is the Research Centre for Climate, Energy and Marine attached to UCC. So I'm actually based in Ballydehob in West Cork, but because of the joys of online stuff, I can actually work quite easily remotely, but also I will be making trips to and from the peninsula over the year. So my role is to help us to evaluate what we're doing in the project. And I know from my experience, and you probably know if you've been in projects, that evaluation is always a tricky area, and it's something we tend to put off. You know, we kind of try to avoid it because it's much easier to put the focus on, you know, the action and the work that we're doing and just racing along that track. So my role really is to try and every so often bring us into what we're calling reflective learning. So the importance of working out what we're experiencing while we're doing it, but also to be looking at whether we're achieving our aims and whether we're being an effective project. Are we having any impact? And most importantly, are we recognizing and learning from any mistakes and failures throughout the year? So during this project, all of us will be exploring what we're doing and identifying what works, what doesn't work, the benefits, the challenges, the barriers, and any lessons learned. This will then be written up in a learning brief. So if you go on to the Dingle, the Kirkagreena 2030 website, you'll see that there's a series, I think, of about 7 learning briefs that we've already done on other projects on the Dingle Peninsula. So we'll be writing something up. We may be a bit more creative in how we actually, whether we write it up or we use some form of creative kind of visualization or whatever, we're not sure. Because one of the key things actually with this project is it's very flexible and we're all participating. So the group of 10 farmers will have a say as we go along in the process, you know, and there'll be a certain amount of shared decision making. So we're not saying that this is definitely going to happen in terms of evaluation, but we will certainly be asking you there'll be a certain amount of questioning. So I'll be popping in with questions. We'll be having maybe some discussion groups. We'll try to avoid as much as possible to have you writing down reams of answers to questions, but there may be a bit of journaling, there may be a bit of scrapbooking. It'll all depend, and a certain amount of it will depend on Lisa's creativity, because I know she's going to be coming up with ideas all over the place. So it'll be a bit fluid, but I don't think you have to worry about it, and you won't be asked to do anything you don't want to do. And the final thing, that we're also bringing a filmmaker in, and he'll be popping in and out during the year, taking some film footage. And we're hoping that that'll be kind of put together at the end into a video clip. So he may well be asking the farmers, you know, your experiences and how you're doing, and he'll be filming stuff on the farm, and he'll be filming stuff with Lisa. So I think it promises to be interesting. It'll hopefully be very fun. It will be great fun. There'll certainly be unexpected twists and turns, I think, during the year. Thanks. I'll hand you back to Katrina.
Thanks a million, Claire. Now, in contrast to what I originally said, we might actually let Lisa talk next, and maybe Dinny or Michael or Cullum, we might ask you after that, if that's okay, because it probably makes more sense for people to hear from Lisa in terms of her approach. So Lisa, if I'm not putting you on the spot too much, over to you.
You might need to unmute yourself there, Lisa. I muted everyone when Katrina was speaking.
So, can you hear me? And can you see the screen? Okay. So you've got there, and I'm on a sauce, you know, the anseo. So look, I'm absolutely delighted to be here this evening, and I know Katrina had said no more than 10 minutes, so I'm just going to go through this here. So this is one of my drawings that I did earlier this year called "Where Do We Go From Here?" Because I think, for me, I suppose I've always been involved in farming, and I have a photograph here. So this was me not looking all that different than I am today when I was about 5 with my brother and the cattle out in the field. So I grew up in a farm in Laois, and we were beef, I suppose, and we'd beef farmers, and we'd also had cereal. And this is me and my brother looking terribly unimpressed at being dragged out to herd cattle. But I suppose most of my life I've spent on farm. I've travelled a good bit as well, but I've spent the majority of my life either on a farm in Laois or here in Kerry, and we're based in Ballybunion at the minute. So this is our tractor Molly. She's 57 years old. So we have 20 acres here in Ballybunion. And before Molly's arrival during COVID, we had 2 wheelbarrows, which was great fun. And we were terribly strong hauling them around, but it wasn't very efficient. So this is Molly. And this is just to show you. So we do Kerry social farming. So we have, I suppose, different volunteers, people with disabilities come to us every Friday, and the tunnel on the left-hand side there is created specifically to meet the needs of the participants. And then we would have a lot of wildflower meadows as well, and obviously grass, and lots of organic vegetables. We're certified organic as well. Just wanted to show you this, just in terms of visualization and how things change. So this would be our land, and you'd be all familiar, any farmers here, with the BPS and the ANC maps and everything like that, and how the red marks the bits that are ineligible, you know, ditches and stuff like that. But we were looking at our land, I suppose 2 years ago now, and thinking, well, how can we do something around climate change? And I was finding myself more and more worried about it. So we drew a little map, a very basic map, thanks to the work with Transition Kerry. We've been doing some work with Transition Kerry. And so we drew a map thinking about, well, what would we like our land to look like, and what can we do? So you see all the little squiggles there, they're all the trees. We thought, oh, wouldn't it be lovely to plant trees? And we felt that trees were really important in terms of the future and leaving something behind. So literally, after drawing that and mapping out all the different areas of the land, we actually planted 10,000 trees last June, 12 months, with Greenbelt and also the support of SuperValue. And that's just amazing. You know, it's just a joyful project. A little do we think, we felt, I suppose, we were doing the right thing, but I don't think we really understood how much it would give back to us. And especially in the lockdown, we were here, even the 2 kilometres still allowed us to do a forest walk and a woodland walk. So you'll see the tree up there on the right-hand side is one of the older trees in the land. And literally, you can see the rushes in the field, and the little oak tree is smaller than the rushes. And they're the 10,000 trees there up there in the bag. I'll just move on there. So I just wanted to just give you a little bit of an overview of what we're doing, and then we'll open up to questions. So I suppose some people think drawing is a terribly fancy and elaborate thing, but for me, drawing, I just draw all the time, and I use drawing to try and maybe process things that are going on in my head. So this was just a drawing I did here in the wall about things that I was worried about, climate change, and you know, that thing of measuring how high are we above sea level, and is 8 meters enough? Thinking about just transition, who's being left behind, all these worries and anxieties that were in my head. This is another project, I suppose. My work has been all about food and local food. And one day I ordered a sandwich in a shop, a BLT sandwich, and not ordered, I picked it up actually in a shop. And on the back of the packaging was all of the ingredients in a BLT. Now, a BLT, you'd imagine there'd be 3 or 4 ingredients, but there's actually 43 ingredients. So then I started drawing out those ingredients and where they came from around the world. And that actually became a project in its own right. And yeah, I just find that, you know, people think that art is something over there, whereas for me, art is very integrated into everything I do. I used to be the filmmaker in residence with Kerry County Council as well, and I've made lots of documentaries and lots of films as well. So, you know, we can see what happens, you know, if there's no pre-prescribed outcome for this. So if we have a lot of people who are interested in drawing, we could draw. If you're interested in radio, we could do some sound. It's anything is possible. And these are different books that we've published. So the Local Food Project was published in 2018, all about the power of eating local food and how we as farmers can really transform the world's systems in terms of food, just by producing local food and eating local. And I see Aidan O'Connor is here this evening, and Aidan was involved in that. And I think there's a photograph of Aidan inside in the book. This other project here on the top is one we just finished last month, and it's called The Beauty of the Bogs in North East and West Kerry. That will actually not be launched until February, even though it's completed. And just looking at the beauty of our landscape, and sometimes we can take things for granted. But in terms of climate change, the bogs we have here in North Kerry and all over Kerry have a really important role to play. And this is just another drawing book down at the bottom. And then the last hub for a while was launched fresh last Wednesday night with the author Michael Harding. And that looks at the last 2 years and responses to COVID, responses to climate change, and also some poems about farming and food. So yeah, I really feel that there's, I think this is an amazing project, and I think I'm really excited about it. And I would, because of the books and because of my work, I would do a lot of different talks around the country and even internationally sometimes. But this was, I wasn't speaking at this, but this is on the top left, if you haven't seen it before, is the Burren Winterage Festival. And you know, that might be something that we could look at as a model for next year, because it's all farmers talking about the incredible work that they're doing and how they are, you know, dealing with issues around climate change and biodiversity loss in the Burren. And they're only across the Shannon. You know, there's just such an amazing people doing amazing things. And that's myself and Michael D down the bottom signing each other's books. I just thought I'd add that for the crack, because I'm actually a fan of his. But I think, you know, sometimes people can think of art, as I said, as a very narrow thing. But for me, art is about being out in the trees, about being out in the woods, about being out in the land. So this was Culture Night this year. We organised an outdoor event here on our farm, and that's our little fire pit. And these are our woods. And I just think I just think there's amazing potential for us as farmers to transform how people relate to land and how they understand land, and that we're not separate, we're actually very much connected. So why is this project really important to me and to people? I suppose even yesterday, you know, we saw extreme weather events like this tornado, and it's not about, you know, frightening people, but I think we have to accept that this is the reality of the world we're living in. And I don't know about you, but I don't operate very well when I'm frightened or I'm scared. I just find I just want to go into a little shell and do nothing. So I think this project for me is about how do we acknowledge the skills and the knowledge that we have in order to deal with issues that are actually global and that are probably the most relevant, important issues of our lives. And I feel that this project can really have an amazing impact on these global issues that are happening all around us, that people are living in these houses today because it happened yesterday. And I think as farmers, we probably have an empathy and an understanding when we see images like this that maybe pass over other people, because this was in 2019 in Mozambique. But I think we have an insight because we can understand this isn't just about a flood that's going to happen and then the water's going to subside. This is about fields being destroyed, crops being destroyed, farmers having to pay for seeds and not be able to have any crop from it. It's about debt. It's about not having anything to leave on to your children. So I do think we have a unique perspective that can seriously impact about how others act on climate change. And not just only the global perspective, well, the global perspective, one more slide here, that I don't know if people were aware of this, but Michael D. Higgins said it over the summer, that 82.4 million people are currently displaced in the world, and that figure is going to increase substantially. So we have to take action, and we have to mind ourselves and take some action, but we do have to take action. And even just closer to home, out on the Maharees, I know there's so many of you probably here tonight concerned about climate action, concerned about the Maharees, and there's amazing work being done there. And there is a term called solastalgia, made up by a man called Glenn Albrecht, and it's called a form of emotional or existential distress caused by environmental change. And I think more and more people are experiencing this, and they mightn't call it nostalgia, and they mightn't have a name for it. But I think many people I speak to and many farmers here are concerned about the future for the children, and they know the changes that have happened, and they're not sure what to do about it. So I think this project has a real opportunity to address that. So I'm not going to repeat what we'll be doing because Katrina's already talked about it. I have 4 more slides, but just maybe the Gestart. I think that's the most important starting point. I really just want to spend time with you all, see what's happening, and even though I can see you from out the window here, you know, and I can see the Dingle Peninsula, I think it's going to be really great to be down there with you and see what's going on. So it's about observation and research and learning. This to me is an incredible opportunity for us as farmers, as creative people, to actually learn together, to, I suppose, yeah, like visit other projects that are doing really interesting thing and take that knowledge home. Build a better world, I suppose, for the children coming up next. And 60% of farmers in Kerry have no one to leave their land to. You know, these are serious issues. What are we doing for the future, and how are we going to make sure that farming is a sustainable, life-giving force, I suppose, in the county and in the Dingle Peninsula? It's about exchanging knowledge and about mapping creative skills and possibilities. And finally, just Ninyarth Corla Kela, that it's some of the words that were used in the application that I applied to, you know, the brief was about, it's a creative logic to a complex problem. It is very complex. I don't think anyone's expecting us to come up with all the solutions, but I think together with even the amazing people that I see in the room here tonight, we can definitely make a good run at it. It's about defining the challenges, agreeing an action plan together. It's not set in stone. I put stones here, but it's not set in stone. And it's about working with key stakeholders. There's amazing knowledge that we can all share with each other. And I suppose it's about putting the eco. An artist said the other day, she said it's about putting the ego versus the ego. You know, it's about putting ecology and our beautiful planet ahead of egotistical concerns. So look, Goran Mila Mahaviv, my 10 minutes are up, and I'm very happy to answer questions, or you can certainly go to my website and check out my work there as well. So.
Goran Mila Mahaviv, Lisa. So be the will sim eg Dinny no Michael just no column rodeg na raw mother lesson size tahi vi governor vi mar eg egera alientor alt no on size na schminti tagwivsha about the project. Any thoughts that you have? Or so both Colin Murphy, Michael Dowd, Michael Kelleher and Dinny Galvin were involved in selecting Lisa. So they, if any of them has a thought on that process or what their hopes are. Dinny.
Yeah, it was, excuse me, it was great to be involved in the selection process. I believe we definitely picked the right person. Definitely, we've met the lady, Lisa, and look, I'd have no problem working with the woman anyway. You know, I'd say she'll blend in with the farming community very well. It's a great initiative. This is a great initiative, and it's going to be a great incentive to you know, to show the light on the farming sector, and that we're not, you know, that we take care of the land, we take care of the animals, and that to me is very important as well. And perhaps show how hard we work doing that, and you know, we're all for the good, we're all for the good goal. You know, by helping the climate as well. We know it's getting serious, and we want to help that out. So if this is going to highlight that, which is the plan, that's very, very important to the farming community for sure.
Thank you, Dinny. Michael Keller is doing good rodeg na raw guts and will thought the love so is
ta faltroif ta laur me ngai blurring and blur me la mar stochen avik girl na gega and one of the reasons I got involved in this because Dinny asked me to get involved there in the SEC, Dairy SEC, which I did. And I was very glad when Katrina and Deirdre and Claire McKelligate as well came on board and helped us an awful lot. And then they asked us to help them in selecting this artist, and I'm sure, like the other three lads, I didn't know what to expect or what was in front of me, but I'm glad I did. Like, I enjoyed it. one of the reasons that I'm looking forward to this is I think out there in the press, farming is being shown in a very negative light. And I think maybe that if we show this maybe in a form of art, it could be a positive thing in driving things forward. And so I think it's going to be an enjoyable journey. Like there's opportunities out there. Who knows like what's ahead of us? No one knows. But I think I always love watching artists because I think they have a great imagination and they can just do something out of nothing. I watch it there on television on occasions, someone doing a drawing, and it's one particular person doing with snow on a mountain, and the way he put trees into it, just so simple, like, and just I wouldn't even have thought of it. So that's why as I said, more than the negative press that we're getting is one of my main reasons that this could make a positive story, and that we're not as shown up as bad as what we are, like, which we're not. And
thanks a million, Michael. I don't know, Colm or Michael Dowd, you've your
Hi, Katrina. Thanks very much for doing all this. It's like that, like Dinny and Michael. It's trying to bring the positive side of the farming and the environment that we're involved in, like, and not to have negative thoughts and negative vibes going out the whole time, which is very important. And it's great that we have Lisa working with us, because I think she will kind of be able to develop the story as it goes along and take it forward from there. That's what I'd be thinking anyway. So thank you.
Thanks a million, Michael. So Colm, you're last man standing, you may as well.
Yeah. Yeah, look, I'd have to concur with everything that the lads said. I suppose, in fairness to the other three lads, they're never shy about getting involved in a lot of other things, and maybe I can say that about myself as well. But yeah, it's different, certainly, and it'll be interesting. I think, like Denise said, that there is sometimes we feel a bit like our Lord, when he was being crucified on the cross, and I just forgive them, Lord, for they know not what they're doing. So maybe, that this is like that. I'd look upon this maybe as an opportunity to show, I won't say the rest of the world, but other non-farming people anyway, through Lisa, that there's a lot of good in farming. And well, it certainly is not perfect, and it's give and take, and we probably have as much to learn from through the visits and all of that sort of stuff as they have to, or as the other people will have to learn from us. So I'm looking forward to this. It's excited to the challenge, and I suppose thank yourself, Katrina, and Deirdre and Claire for playing along with us. In fact, I think, personally, Katrina, this is probably me and maybe the other lads. Well, technology and coming up to speed with technology is we're benefiting from even that aspect as well. Just even by being involved in emails and Zooming and. So hopefully the artist thing and the embedded artist thing will be as informative maybe as the technology side of it as well. So that's all I have to say.
Great, Colm. Thank you very much to all four of you, and really appreciate that you all could make it along tonight. You're great. It's great to have that support. So I wonder, does anybody have a question? I know people are very shy on these kind of events, but if anybody has a question, and you can always email us. Don't feel if you don't want to maybe raise it here. creativeclimateartist@dinglehub.com, and that email address is on the website as well. So it's the Dingle Peninsula 2030 website. There's a lot of information there about the farmer recruitment side of things. The form is there, and some of the questions I went through today are there, and we're happy to answer any questions. But if anybody wants to ask one tonight. Deirdre has started to share. Oh yes, so that's right. This is the, just to give you an idea of where all that information is. So that's one where you can just go right into the climate action page there. And as I say, we're happy to, you know, if you want to email us, feel free. So there's all the different sections are there, the background. It's under farmer recruitment is probably the most relevant one there. So tá sé trí gairing agus trí béle gátanga, but tosa among fermiorachta garcagaine agus you only have to either click on the information sheet, which is the information we've gone through here, and if you scroll down further, again, that is the expression of interest form if you want to fill that in, and that comes straight through to us.
And
So,
Katrina, if anybody needed help with the form, they could contact you, couldn't they?
Absolutely, absolutely. Any questions at all, any, you know, if you're having difficulty with the form, just drop me an email and I'll be happy to help.
And just to say that to people as well, I think it's important that, you know, literacy or writing is not required for anyone.
Not at all, no.
Work with me, certainly. So I just think that's important. I think it's 1 in 4 people in Ireland leave school uncomfortable with reading and writing, and sometimes we forget that. So just to say that, and if you know any farmers that you feel might be a little bit inhibited about the idea of getting in a project because of that, just tell them, like, I certainly won't be asking anyone to write anything down or read anything. So, and Katrina and myself would be very happy to help anyone. You know, we'd be happy to help if anybody needs it. Yeah. Sorry, Katrina?
But you might get them to do the odd creative thing, Lisa.
Oh, sure, but that's what I'm saying. We can be drawing away to our heart's content. We don't need to be writing. But I always say that with groups that I work with, because there's always, if there's 20 people, there's always 3 or 4 who are just not comfortable, and I always think it's important to acknowledge that.
Absolutely.
You know,
so that's basically it. If nobody is brave enough to ask us a question, make sure that I can see everybody now.
Niamh Foley, can you throw out a question there, or anybody there? Eden is there as well. Anybody got a question? Make up something.
Nobody has to. But look, I hope that information is useful to you. And I say anything else, even if it seems foolish, just feel free to email us, and we'll be happy to answer any queries you have, because Tilolas the fall air on Sea of Italy in Dingle Peninsula 2030. Come on.
Katrina.
Yeah.
Before you finish, just in case you finish quickly there, can I just draw the attention to everybody? You know, we're coming up now. I don't know whether, Lisa, whether this would be a good starting point or what, but tomorrow week is the 21st of December, and it's the winter solstice. Sure. But here in Lisbon, we have our own little Newgrange, and it's above an Ardmore. It isn't, and if anybody wants to, I'd say it's probably 10 years since. Basically what it is, it's 3 standings, for anybody that doesn't know about it, it's 3 standing stones that are aligned with the setting sun on the 21st of December. Anybody want to see it, they can go on YouTube and look at just, I don't know, solstice, winter solstice in Lisbon, and you'll see a feature that, what's the name? Jenny, what's McEntee? What's Deirdre?
Myra?
No. The reporter. What's his name? Sean McEntee did for the news back in 2011. So it's 10 years since it happened, and I'm just looking at the weather forecasts there, and I'm quite hopeful that it's going to happen again. So, you know, I don't know, is that the beginning, Lisa? I don't know, is that the beginning of farming? But I don't know how many thousand years.
Yeah, no.
Back. But you know, it's from the pandemic point of view, it's up on top of the hill that it isn't on my land, but the farmer that owns it has never had any problem with people going up there. And you know, maybe it might be a nice place for everyone to meet up if it
Nice
suits
idea.
this time. But you know, from a farming, I don't know what sort of farming they were doing back in whenever them stones were put there. But
The Iron Age or something, I think, Colin, was it?
yeah,
Stone Age, I'm guessing. What am I talking about? Stone Age, yeah.
Yeah, but look, there was no
tractor.
There was no tractor. You know, there was no climate change. But anyway, I don't know how far back you want to go, Lisa.
So you're talking about sunset? Would you be, Colin, about sunset on the 21st? Would it be?
It's the sunset on the 21st. Now, yeah. It's the weather forecast this there is looking like you're going to have these sunsets for the next week or more, or 10 days or more. You know, so you know, I mean, but look, the 21st is the day. But I mean, if anybody, if we want to arrange something for to up there, if it would be relevant, I don't know. I don't care. I won't say I don't care, but I will certainly be there one way or the other. I just find this, I just intrigued by the whole thing, you know, and it's just, I don't know, it's just magical. You know, and we see lots of sunsets, but whatever the bloody hell, being up there when in that particular location when the sun sets on the 21st, and I don't know, it's different, and it's farming. It's I presume there was farming going on back there, but it's look, it's there. I can't say. Well,
I'll tell you straight up now. You can count me in. You've sold me.
Because I do think it's
really important. I'm writing it in the diary here.
Yeah. And
How do you get to that? How do you get to it?
It's down in Ardmore. Is it you go? Dinny, would you come by you past the quarry?
Past the quarry, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
Past the quarry,
and then the road dips down and rises up again. It's in the left there somewhere, isn't it?
It's on the right hand side, actually.
The right hand side.
Yeah. The right hand side. But look, if anyone, what I'd suggested, look at Sean McAtee's news report from 10 years ago. There's a lot of fellas will have aged 10 years since then. There are babies up in fellas' arms they're playing with the under 10s or under 12s ball team. But anyway, look, it's probably the start of our farming here in West Kerry. I don't know, but it'd be a nice place to meet up anyway, and a starting point for a lot of us. I don't know. Look, whether you feel that's relevant or important or.
No, I think it's brilliant, Colin. And actually, I was actually had it in my diary to go to Dingle anyway for the solstice, because I think it's a lovely place to start, because we always mark the solstice. But you know, I think I'm really glad you said that, because I think a lot of the answers will come from the land itself. Do you know, like the land in Ireland, and particularly Dingle Peninsula, is so rich. There's been so many rituals. There's been so many things that have happened, people's farms. Like, I think it's a lovely place to start. I think that's a lovely idea, and thank you for suggesting it. Now, that's beautiful. Yeah.
Right, yeah, brilliant, Colin. If I am here, I'll be there. If that isn't a contradiction in terms. So if I'm in West Kerry, I'll be in Ardmore with you and Lisa.
Yeah. Somebody show me how to get there. I don't want to be one.
Yeah, I'll show you how to get there. Yeah, we might send you to the wrong side of the road, but apart from that,
instead of turning left down the hill to Dinny's farm, you turn right up.
You turn right, yeah, past the quarry.
Fabulous.
Look, that's a very nice note to end on, actually, and that's kind of something to look forward to. So, look, I want to thank Lisa and Claire, and obviously Deirdre is the host, so thank you for hosting us, and to Michael Dowd, Michael Kelleher, Dinny and Colin, and also to all of you for joining us this evening. So hopefully we've given you a sense of what the whole project is about, and to say any questions, no matter how silly or foolish they might seem, please feel free just to email us, and hopefully we'll meet you again in the course of the whole project. All right. Many thanks and good evening to you all.
Slán.